All these pilots train for these conditions. They fly under all kinds of conditions at all the airports in which we operate. So, no, there's nothing specific with respect to experience that I'd look to.
YouTube, good morning, good noon, good night. It's your boy Rowdy, and we back at it again with another video. Today we're reacting to the Delta flight that flipped over. Can you believe a plane flipped over? Man, listen. So they're trying to, they believe that there might have been some DEI here. So basically there was a all women crew that were flying the plane and that was in charge of the whole the whole flight. And you know, the question is that the reason why it could have flipped over? Not just to be sexist, but just looking at it, if we're hiring people because they're gorgeous women, not necessarily because they are good at the job, that could play a point into the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, you don't see in some of these spaces, you don't see very, very ugly, manly looking women. And not all women are gorgeous. But 9 times out of 10, in a specific type of position like this, you will see a gorgeous woman in this kind of situation. As we do, the whole crew, for the most part, looked beautiful. But anyway, we're going to react to that, and we'll be able to react to who said what and kind of just recap the whole situation with the CEO of Delta. Before we get into it, thank you guys for everything. I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. Please like, comment, and subscribe so I can bring you guys more content as soon as possible. And without further ado, let's lock in. So it looks like that whole thing was just some kind of overlay of, you know, different women in different scenarios. So it's not necessarily pointing at just it being all women. However, I do have this small little thing here, and then we're going to fast forward through this. So as it says, social media users have slammed Endeavor for being responsible for operating the crashed flight for promoting DEI policies, meaning that they had people that might not have had the talent or had the knowledge of what they needed to have, whatever, in position based off of things that don't mean that they should be qualified. Further meaning, they got into it for whatever reason, not necessarily because of their qualifications. Anyway.
Before you go, we've talked about the media's tactics against the Trump administration, and there is nothing they will not seek to blame on him, including a Delta plane crash landing in Canada. Thankfully, nobody lost their lives. The usual suspects on The View, including Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, said plenty of silly stuff, and Whoopi Goldberg wasn't going to miss out on the ill-informed hysteria either.
I have been panicking over all this insanity with these planes.
Yeah.
You know, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. Like, so let's start with the string of mass firings by Elon Musk's Doge.
Before she says that, ironically enough, the CEO, I'm going to play him later on, he actually justified what she's saying and explained that has nothing to do with what's going on. It might just be a matter of some freak accidents, but that actually has nothing to do. It was small people who basically their positions did not amount to the jobs that they were having and the money that they were making in those jobs. So they just did some simple cuts. Just they're trimming the fat. And that's what they told us that they were going to do. They did not say they were going to be cutting pilots and anything like that. They're trimming the fat off of some positions that are unnecessary. But let her go ahead and spew this nonsense.
Has sparked a lot of chaos, confusion, and fear because Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is defending the firing of 400 FAA workers. But former Secretary Pete Buttigieg slammed the firings of employees.
That's enough of that. Tell me about some of the media hysteria and misinformation about who is to blame for this crash.
Oh gosh, they try to blame everything on Trump, and then anything good he does, they won't give him any credit. It's utterly, utterly disgusting. I'll just say about our Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. This is an incredible, incredible human being. Watch closely what he does with that office. He's going to do amazing, amazing things. And again, it all comes down to the fact that they cannot admit how incompetent they have become on the left, how utterly divorced from the needs of the average American. And this is all just projection, Rita. Every accusation from the Democrats is a confession. They cannot stand the efficiency with which Donald Trump is carrying out the mandate given to him by the American people. It's going to be a long 4 years for them, that's for sure.
Until they can figure out who is going to be leading them, I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do. Because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, they're being very disingenuous. There's so many. It's such a enormous issue with the left. They have no real leadership. So it begs the question, what are they going to do? Who is going to come forward? Who is going to be able to do what is needed? Who is going to come forward? Who is going to do what is needed in order for us to understand, who for us to be able to say that we have real trust in whoever the Democratic leader is? Kamala is in hiding. I don't think I've heard her say anything since November. Last year, she's old news. So who do you have? Hakeem Jeffries? Josh Shapiro? I mean, I've heard nothing. AOC? Come on now. To run the United States? No, come on, let's be real. Who do the Democrats have? And that's why they're in the shambles that they're in. They have no real leadership. They want to sit there and let all these people who have small representation over the mass, of the United States, the people who identify as who they're not. They have small, representation, but those people are the people that they want to push and posture up instead of people who represent the United States as a whole. Think about it. Anyway, we're going to react to Gayle King talking to the transportation or the Delta Airlines CEO. So let's log in. Here we go.
We welcome you back to CBS Mornings, but it's the story we're all talking about because there's still so much we don't know about why a Delta jet carrying 80 people crashed in Toronto on Monday. 2 people are still hospitalized, but amazingly, everybody on board survived. That is such good news. Delta CEO Ed Bastian joins us now for an exclusive interview. We're also going to bring in our transportation correspondent, Chris Van Cleave, for this conversation. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Ed. Good to see you, Ed Bastian, this morning. Chris?
Ed, can you talk to us?
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Gail.
Oh.
Ed, I know there's an investigation here, so there's some things you can't tell us, but have you been able to learn anything about this accident that may help people understand what went so wrong here?
I can't provide any details, Chris. It's an ongoing investigation, as you are aware. Other than, we've all seen the media, we've all seen the videos. That's about as much detail as we can look at and talk about at this moment.
Ed, I've gotten a lot of questions from people about the pilots here. Can you tell us how experienced these pilots were? Would they have been familiar with that airport, particularly the conditions in the winter in Toronto?
Absolutely. It was an experienced crew. There's one level of safety at Delta, Chris, between our mainline and our regional jets. All of these pilots train for these conditions. They fly under all kinds of conditions at all the airports in which we operate. So, no, there's nothing specific with respect to experience that I'd look to.
And I was thinking, too, all the passengers that we've talked to are giving big kudos to your crew, so I'm glad you gave them a shout out. The flight attendants, they said, remain calm under all the circumstances. But I just can't stop looking at this video. I'm sure you are, too. And I'm wondering, when you first saw it, number one, Ed, I didn't even know a plane could flip over like that, number one. Number two, it says Delta Airlines. What went through your mind when you saw that picture? And I'm sure you've looked at this video many, many times. I'm a very nervous flyer, as you know, and I'm just so freaked out by this. So when you saw this, what did you think?
Well, it's horrifying when you look at the video. You can imagine, when I received the text minutes after it happened, hearing that there was a regional jet upside down on an active runway with 80 people on board, how I felt without knowing yet what was transpiring. But the reality is that safety is embedded into our system. Air travel in the United States is the safest form of transportation and travel there is, period. And it's because we train for events like this. And yes, it's amazing the work that our team did up at Endeavor, but that's what we expect out of them, because we are prepared for all types of circumstances.
You know, the Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you, and do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration has committed to investing deeply in terms of improving the overall technologies that are used in the air traffic control systems and modernizing the skies. They've committed to hiring additional controllers and investigators and safety investigators. So no, I'm not concerned with that at all.
He knew what was going on, and he did get alerted literally minutes after it happened. But to say that Trump and Trump administration is at fault is just another classic case of being disingenuous. They have more than enough employees, especially the ones that they deem necessary. So this isn't a matter of solely just incompetence, but there does beg the question after we have this investigation. There might have been. The weather conditions were bad. It was probably super duper cold, and that's why typically you don't see planes unless it's like, I guess there, but you don't see planes going in these kind of conditions. So I feel like that's pretty much what kind of happened. It was super cold, and there might have been some incompetence, but who knows? Once the investigation finishes up, we'll know. So anyway, based off of what we got, here we are. But anyway, I thank you guys for watching up to this point. If you can, like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to bring you more content as soon as possible. Y'all take it easy.